Hey everyone, welcome to the Fiercely Dust Devils build guide. This build guide is a version of the Whirlwind Dust Devils that focuses on getting max resource, so you can actually get a ton of damage from your Realm of Madness. This build, I was playing it last season, it was only a couple of bits behind what the lead version could do. So I got a lot of time last season to actually refine the build, and even though with the new uniques I could add some new stuff to the build, and those buffs to Shaco and Grandfather to have additional max resource is quite insane, and we'll be taking full advantage of that. Like, coming into this patch, the only nerf this build actually got was the unconstrained hit passive, which got a small-ish nerf, but we got a ton of buffs. Ramladness for one got buffed, a ton of other buffs, and some new uniques that we're gonna be using that I'll cover in a second. First of all, let's actually go into the build. I'll be covering both the leveling mid-game. This will be the thing that you pick as soon as you get one of the two, either Dust Devil's Aspect for Whirlwind or the Dust Devil's Aspect for Double Swing. You can still use this build, by the way, if you get Double Swing 1, you just have to swap the ability. Everything else works out the same. I did it last season because I couldn't, for the sake of my life, I couldn't get the Whirlwind, the Devils one till I was like 93 or something. I was extremely unlucky. But yeah, you can still run this build. So, most important thing, again, you need to have the aspect to run this. As soon as you have it, you can pick this at any time. As soon as you get the aspect, just swap. It's gonna be the fastest leveling. Either version, either Whirlwind or Double Swing, you'll be Gucci, right? That's it. You have other aspects that here you have other aspects that you can actually use for the build that will make the build just stronger for your leveling, so you have a smooth leveling. One thing I want to point out is that, as you can see, everything here is lightning resist. Of course, you're not going to be running lightning resist. What this is intended for you to do is, on every slot that you see max resist, lightning resist, you just use it to fill out your resists. Try to, balance them. Even if you cannot cap them, it's fine. As long as you get like 50 of each, you'll be good. Remember, you can also use your rings to balance them out with the gems, right? This build and the Endgame one will also be using your mace. While leveling, you should just use the higher level one. You just let it like auto-select the one you'll be using. When we actually swap to the endgame version now, you'll be using the two-handed mace. It will be just more damage. There's some reason to potentially use a polearm. I just want you to use the best weapons you got, and the mace you'll always be using a mace. You don't need to worry about anything else, right? The difference in damage is not that high, and for what's worth, you don't even have Uverse, you're not going to be pushing that hard for now. Just focus on get everything else. As you can see, if you played the build last season, we added some new uniques and swapped one out. First of all, Fits of Fate. So, this unique got a massive upgrade. The stats are all pretty much decent. Sadly, on this build, we cannot really make much use of the attack speed. That's what it is. We still get the crit chance, which is one of the most important stats you have on your gloves. And we get a ton of lucky hit, which will make our life much easier to proc Vuln. Will make Vuln uptime much easier on the field. We also have a random chance to apply a random crowd control effect. So, that's going to be fun to figure out how that works. Hopefully it does work with Dust Devils. As you can see, it refers to attacks. But as we know, what you read is not always how it works. We'll see how it will actually work in game. Sadly, there's not a lot of testing to see this. If it doesn't work, I'll just swap it out. Don't worry, I'll know it in the first few days of the season. The second one, and it's a unique that's really busted, especially for leveling, is Ragnarok's Wake. You get movement speed, you want that on boot. Non-physical damage, you don't really care. But you get a ton of resists. This unique alone will basically cap out your resist while leveling. You just have to, get a bit here and there. And it will give you a ton of cooldown reduction. It will make your shout up time way easier, and everything will be fine as soon as you get it. I don't think there's anything else to cover here, so let's go right into the Uber version. For the Uber endgame, you'll see that I made a few changes here as well. First of all, we're actually running Harlequin this time. Last season, I had to go to lengths to convince people that Harlequin was not good. People are just running it because they thought it was good, because Harlequin is good for all builds. It wasn't. People eventually at the end of the league actually figured out that it was not good. But now it actually is, because now we got max resource on it and a ton of cooldown reduction and a lot of armor. This thing just fixes your armor. You don't have to worry about your armor. It's insane. And what Harlequin actually allows us to do with Ragnarok's Wake and a cooldown reduction roll on our amulet is that we'll have 100% uptime on challenging shout, and the other two will be extremely close. Like, they'll have even less than 1 second cooldown. It's basically insane, right? The other change, again, we have Fist of Fate and we have Ragnarok's Wake here. One thing that you'll actually notice here on this build, when you go into the Uber endgame, you'll not even have to wear any gems on your rings. Tyrell's Might and Ragnarok's Wake just completely fills your resists. Sadly, there's no good thing to use here. It's gonna be sad. And even though this build is gonna have 3k HP, we're gonna be extremely tank. We're just gonna be using strength amethyst gems on your armor for additional strength, additional damage, big pump. Just so you know, this build last league was already dealing upwards of 70 million max hits. This season, we might, especially because of Fist of Fate, we might see some crazy numbers like 200 or something million hits. It's gonna be insane. On average, our damage will likely go up to 100 mil. The 70 mil will likely go up to 100 mil. But yeah, it's gonna be really good. I'm excited to play this build. I actually have, just a small sneak peek. I actually have another build here that I'll eventually cover, which is, where is it? The Devilish Dust Devils. This one is a more advanced version that's likely gonna do a lot more damage, but it's really gear dependent and it's not good for starters, so I'll not be covering it. Anyway, let me know what you think about the build, if you're gonna be playing it, and any questions you have or any feedback you have to give me. Either you can go to the Discord and talk to me there, or just leave a comment down below. I'll try to read all of them that I can. And yeah, thanks for watching. Leave me a like if you like this build. And if you want to see more builds, I'll upload tomorrow a build that I'll actually be using to level until I actually get the Dust Devil. And 2 days or so after, when I actually am able to test this build out, because this one is still a lot theoretical, I'll also make a build video about it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you in the Sanctuary. Gotta defend those Zords.